So long as there's intellectual property, you can bet it'll be used some way or another, whether it's for a quick cash grab or... wait, that's usually the only reason.
The Arasaka turned me into a fucking microtransaction in Fortnite.
When rolling out a familiar name, it matters not whether it has anything to do with the original works. Just, is this a name that some amount of people will recognize and champion? Which is exactly how in 2001, we were gifted a reboot of Spy Hunter, a one-hit wonder from 1983, reborn on the 6th generation of consoles. But not all reboots and remakes are equal, and Spy Hunter 2001 is a surprising and fun evolution upon the original concept. You're greeted with a slick, pre-rendered FMV,
which was the style at the time,
before getting to grips with the hero car, the Interceptor. There is actually a bit of story here, paying lip service to the original 1983 game, and some context is given to the why of your missions. But what really matters is the what. At first glance, Spy Hunter does look a bit basic. You have a car with guns, shoot enemies, make it to the objective on time. And you know what? That would have been a fair and reasonable take on the franchise from the developers, being Paradigm Entertainment, who actually had a bit of an impact in the racing scene, being the one and onlys behind HSV Adventure Racing. Paradigm has a fresh approach to level design and mission structure. For the levels, while in most cases you're focused on pressing forward, staying alive, and eliminating any vehicular foe dumb enough to get in front of your 50 cal, the wrench comes in the form of the objectives each mission brings. These are not limited to speed or kill count, but rather actual mission objectives. Main and secondary objectives may require finding specific things in a level, like SATCOMs or an enemy helicopter off the beaten path, or performing specific actions like placing trackers, scanning vehicles, and being sure to only destroy the ones carrying illicit cargo. Performing these secondary tasks is a must, as completing a certain amount of objectives gives you points, which unlock further missions. Now, the game never tells you how many points you need for anything, so you may as well just try and do everything there is in a level. And it helps that these levels are very replayable, with diverging paths giving you a new flavor of chaos through your run. Paying attention and taking these alternate paths does give you a different experience in these levels. One of the coolest examples of this is a task to scan and avoid lasers in a level, but that's not just for feel-good completion. You actually will miss out on the opportunity to infiltrate and destroy a secret base if you fail this objective. There is a lot to keep track of during a mission between the enemies and objectives, which keeps every level engaging despite repeat environments. The enemies do include your standard weaponized vehicle fodder, stuffing you from both front and rear, but there are some more direct foes to handle. The game asks a lot from you as an agent, and it's up to you to perform. However, it's still kind enough to throw you a bone if you take too much damage. Here's your rescue racer, just as capable as the full beast but with a smaller hitbox. Imagine if instead of Diva having a pea shooter after ejecting, she got a smaller, harder to hit, but just as capable mech. Very unfair to the enemy team. Now of course you can't take as much hits as the full Interceptor, but it gives you a second wind, and if you end up needing it early on, well, you have the chance to get to a recovery van further in the level to recompile yourself. The Spy Hunter reboot had no reason to go this hard with its ambition. Every level is a chaotic and engaging thrill ride, but challenges you to lock in to get your job done. Slight spoilers for a 26-year-old game, one mission has you drop into the Monaco GP. It just happens, and it's fantastic. Paradigm did an excellent job here, and the studio really has a lot of long due praise for the quality of their racing games overall. Spy Hunter is 100% a game worth getting into if you've not played it, but have played other games with weaponized vehicles. You still have an experience what Spy Hunter is bringing to the table, from a design and gameplay perspective. It really is a refreshing, fun ride from start to finish, and the game was so good, it revived the series. As a bonus, it also includes the original 1983 Spy Hunter via cheat code. And fun fact, the original game is so small, they just dumped the entire thing into memory, meaning if you eject the disc, the game still runs. Unfortunately, despite the game's success, Paradigm wouldn't be brought back for future entries. In fact, no developer who ever works on Spy Hunter would ever do more than one game. But for Spy Hunter 2, the keys would be handed over to Angel Studios, the very kind who would go on to do Red Dead Revolver. What a strange pick. Spy Hunter 2 is a direct follow-up, and it's truly one of the sequels of all time. If I could form a coherent thought in 2001, and you asked me, what does a reboot of Spy Hunter look like? I'd probably describe Spy Hunter 2. In its own context, it's a perfectly fine game of its time. Runs well, plenty of explosions, missions, and boss fights. But Paradigm dropped every unique idea Paradigm brought to the table. Goodbye to branching routes, goodbye to challenging mission objectives, goodbye to any sense of agency. The most challenging thing you're doing here is fighting off a swarm of enemies. Every level of Spy Hunter 2 is just a mindless shooting gallery. Any sort of friction has been removed in an effort to make the game easier, but it loses any unique sense of identity in the process. The new boss fights in this game don't mean anything. The levels are infinite. There was an attempt to bring more narrative into the mix. The mission briefings are far more lore heavy, but unless you've been to the Chris Chibnall school of writing, exposition dumping with no visual payoff isn't exactly how you want to present your narrative. Nothing said or read in Spy Hunter 2 is more interesting than the flavor text in the first game. In fact, Spy Hunter 2 shows everything it has to offer from the very start. The Interceptor, off-road mode, turret sequences, and repeat for the whole game. Spy Hunter 1 was chaotic. There was a ton of shooting and enemies, especially towards the end, but those were a part of your mission. You had other stuff to do, even if it was just other stuff to destroy. The chaos of those missions could distract you from causing even more chaos. Whereas here in Spy Hunter 2, all it has is the explosion fest, and there's more of it, so the impact is severely lessened. And that's about all I can muster up about Spy Hunter 2. It's truly a video game that exists. But how about something that doesn't exist? Spy Hunter Nowhere to Run, the movie that is. In the mid-2000s, Midway was banking on a transmedia strategy. You know, why launch an IP in a single category when you can have multiple games connected to that IP? Movies, TV shows, comics, heck, bring in big name actors and directors to help with legitimacy. Surely if you spend a bunch of money on something, it means that whatever you're hawking is important and everyone will jump on. This wouldn't pan out for Midway, and the idiot behind this colossal failure was surely laughed out of the industry. The Spy Hunter film was never to be, but its tie-in game starring Rock the Dwayne Johnson was. Developed by Terminal Reality, the very same behind the Aeon Flux tie-in game, so this sort of thing was right up their alley. Unlike the two games that came before it, Nowhere to Run is primarily a third-person action game. When writing this at 3 AM, off the top of my head, I can recall 3 to 4 missions where you actually drive the Interceptor. Otherwise, enemies are not smart at all, but the twist here is the melee. You can run up and fist any enemy to your heart's content. It's a combination of light, heavy, and charged attacks, with the ability to stun enemies to perform a wrestling finisher on them.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
The great thing about this is that every enemy has a sense of honor, so if you're going bare knuckle, they'll put away their guns and join you on the streets of rage. There is occasionally some attempt to break up the combat with some light puzzle segments, but these are so few and far between, they may as well not exist. The majority of the game is so focused on foot combat, you can genuinely forget that the series has anything to do with a spy car. It's Man with a Gun game number 6020. But it's also a little ahead of its time in that regard, featuring a cover system, which wasn't standard yet, although you can't shoot over the waist-high cover, and the animations are all canned, meaning firing from cover has you taking more hits than you'd want. The story of this game heavily relies upon you having seen the movie, so it doesn't make much sense. But in the context of these Spy Hunter reboots, it's par for the course. However, when playing this game, you get the sense that NTR is a little embarrassed of being a Spy Hunter game. I mentioned that there was only a few instances throughout the game where you actually drive the Interceptor, but these segments are so short and are constantly broken up by more on-foot combat. You recover the Interceptor, it gets stuck. There's a roadblock, get out and shoot them. Don't even fire a rocket from the car. It's like the game is so scared you're going to get bored of these driving segments, it feels the need to break it up with the on-foot action that you've already been doing for the majority of the game. It's a little insane and contrived how they invent ways to get you back out of the Interceptor. And those on-foot segments, the game is so stingy with ammo. You can easily find yourself woefully under-equipped to handle many bosses or the hordes of enemies thrown out, and it doesn't help that taking punches, or explosions, makes you lose your currently held weapon, resulting in you scrambling to find and pick it back up, which is doubly annoying when some enemies can only be taken out with certain weapons. There are some fun ideas here, but they don't lead to fun moments. The most standout moments in this game are a boss fight where the boss cowers the entire time, and this door. What useful information have I lost due to being able to remember sound effects from The Sims busting out? Spy Hunter Nowhere to Run would be the last Spy Hunter released under Midway, as they would later be parted out and sold to whoever was buying, and Spy Hunter would end up at WB Games, a truly safe and stable home. It's reboot time! Developed by TT Fusion, who had a bit of a thing for the Mega Bloks knockoff. Spy Hunter 2012 is the second best in this reboot multiverse, and I'm surprised after playing it that the reception was so middling. It's the most creative take on franchise since that first reboot. The missions take the linear approach of Spy Hunter 2, but the shift in art direction takes Spy Hunter from a neo-tech noir to feeling like you're blasting through a Bond set piece. TT Fusion put a lot of care into these levels to help them avoid feeling repetitive. Unique mission objectives, a couple set pieces, weapons which actually require some thought and positioning to use. It's a well-rounded package that melds player interaction with scripted moments. Your machine has multiple weapons available like the previous games, but only one weapon can be held in a particular slot, and all of these are offensive, but the selection lets you pick and choose how you want to approach enemy vehicles. The shock ram lets you KO foes instantly, but you risk losing health if you mistime a hit, whereas shotguns let you keep some space, but do less damage to stronger enemies. Conversely, the tried and true turret is always a dependable dealer of damage. But if you're willing to risk it, the railgun unlocked later on packs a bigger, instant punch. Every weapon is a valid choice with pros and cons. Once again, there is an attempt at a narrative here, and it's without a doubt the best go the series has had.
Launch sequence initiated.
When I was young, I used to pull the wings off flies and watch them try to adapt to their new life.
It's not good, but it's definitely entertaining. What I really appreciate is that the main villain isn't constantly yapping in your ear every mission. They only show up on occasion, which sort of makes it a joy when they come over the radio and you listen to whatever dumb spiel they vomit out, leading to some funny moments.
A valiant effort, but you're going to lose it. No!
Another large upgrade is the weapons truck. It returns after not being an NTR and being nothing but a vessel for turret sequences in 2. Here, functionality is restored. Not only does it repair your interceptor, but allows you to respec your weapons mid-mission if you're feeling a different approach is needed. Spy Hunter 2012 is a game with a lot to give that always tries to keep things fresh. It's happy to put the pressure on you where needed, but it also gives you the freedom to play around and experiment. Having beaten it, I'm just really surprised reviewers at the time just didn't seem to get this game. It was 2012 and released on the PS Vita and 3DS. What other games were they even comparing it to? Even subtracting comparison, TT Fusion made a damn fine and fun vehicle action game that never has a dull moment in its runtime. The first Spy Hunter reboot impressed me, as I didn't know what to expect, and without a doubt, I had a fun time with it. But the second reboot is just a joy to play. I truly don't get where the hate came from, especially as a handheld title. Both reboots take differing approaches. One asks you to rise to the occasion to overcome its challenge, with the fun being the challenge itself and the levels which support them. It's a symbiotic relationship between the game and the player. The latter is more interested in ensuring that it is fun, but still asks you to remain engaged in what you're doing, so the missions don't turn into a slop of explosions. You're more of a parasite taking from the game, but it's more than happy to give in exchange for some cuddles. The Spy Hunter reboots are a mixed bag when viewed as a whole. No developer was able to ever get truly familiar with the series and expand upon their work. As much as I did enjoy Spy Hunter 2, I can understand that Angel Studios had far more pressing concerns at the time. 2003 was both Spy Hunter 2's release year and the year they became a part of Rockstar Games. Likely, both Midway and Rockstar were pressuring them to wrap up their existing contracts. I will forever wonder what happened between Paradigm and Midway, especially considering the first game's reception was very positive even during its E3 showing. They laid down some really interesting groundwork with their game, which could have evolved into something unique. Alas, we don't live in that timeline.
Recording, Frank.
You're fired, you're fired, you're fired, and you're fired.
That's not funny.
Kick your head! You're not funny. I fired you too, isn't that funny?
Nowhere to Run is strange. Its existence is strange. It's a sequel, but not. It has a movie, but doesn't. And it's okay. There are worse games to spend your time with, but that doesn't mean you should spend your time here. And finally, The Second Coming. Unexpectedly good, unappreciated at its time. Seeing as the series now lays in the hands of Warner Brothers, it's safe to say that it's completely dead at this point, which is a shame. It's a franchise and concept that never reached its full potential, but perhaps, even if it did, the audience never would have been there for it. Fortunately, these games are playable and more accessible today. So if you made it this far, well, surprise surprise, I highly recommend checking out and enjoying both the 2001 and 2012 games. Spy Hunter did leave a legacy, so much so to inspire indie developers to create their own take on the series. And while I have issues with Agent Intercept, the creativity the Spy Hunter series encourages is on display in it, and it's awesome that an arcade racer from 1983 could leave such a lasting impact.